scrimmage play. The defensive line is certainly improving. They're disrupting the quarterback. They're pressing the pocket. The linebackers are starting to get better. We're playing a lot of guys at linebacker as well. And probably the biggest jump this last week was the secondary, where we played much tighter in coverage, and guys did a really good job in playing man, and for the most part having success playing man coverage. So all in all, just progress, steady progress, and a lot of potential. There's still a lot of room to grow.
Coach, Will Mallory had his most productive game against A&M. Has it been an emphasis to get him more involved in the offense?
It always has been. Sometimes the ball doesn't get spit out that way. I think if you watch this from spring through fall and all the scrimmages, the tight ends were touching the ball as much or more than anybody else. It didn't go that way the first two games. That wasn't by design. The ball just happened to be spit out, and wherever they gave us an access throw or where coverage, dictated where the ball should go. So, but he's a great player, and certainly when he touches the ball, we're a lot better of a football team, and we have to keep identifying our best playmakers, developing better playmakers, and get the ball in their hands. It's that simple, and so that's what the emphasis of the week is on.
And then I was just wondering if you had an update on how the recovery process of Don Chaney Jr. has been coming along.
It's been coming along well. I think, man, I hate to give you an exact date. I think he's still probably 6, 7, 8 weeks away. Okay, he will be back at some point this season. I'd go conservative 8 and pushing the envelope a little bit 6.
Middle Tennessee State, their defense creates a lot of sacks, tackles for loss. What do they do well that makes them effective in that regard?
They're disruptive movement, right? Some of the stuff that affected us in week 2, they move around a bunch. I think they're tops in the country in either negative plays or sacks, maybe both. Either way, they're top 5 in those categories. They have explosive players, very twitchy players up front. They run a really good scheme. They do a good job disguising their coverages. They do a good job disguising their pressures, and when they bring it, they know where to go. And they're an experienced group with some good football players, and they score a lot of points too. So they feed off of each other. It's a team that plays well together.
Anything else for Coach Cristobal? All right.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All right, y'all will go right into questions for offensive coordinator Josh Gattis.
Josh, after watching the tape, just talk a little bit about what you took out of the game and what you felt could be better, what you were happy with.
Well, the first thing I kind of, emphasize to the guys is, the mistakes that we made that were critically important to the success of the game. We just kind of left a lot of plays out there. I mean, when you look at it, obviously being able to drive up and down the field versus a really good team but not finish with touchdowns, I think it's a major deal. And when you talk about, obviously red zone and scoring touchdowns, right, you have to eliminate the mistakes and penalties that happen in the red zone. And a combination of, whether it was penalties and mistakes or MAs, those things can't happen in clutch situations. And so we've got to continue to emphasize the base fundamentals we got to be better fundamentally as an offense, and that's just doing the little things right. At times we're out there just executing plays without executing the fundamentals of the plays. And those things show up and they catch up to you when they catch up to you.
Josh, one of the play sequences that kind of stands out is that set close to the goal line, that's right on 3rd and 6. And then ultimately go for the field goal. Can you kind of walk through the thought process on that set of downs there?
Yeah, that drive right there, they came out in a 3-down defense, so they were obviously only had 3-down linemen and 8 guys in the coverage. So we were running the ball great all night, and obviously, the first play that we had there had an opportunity to kind of crease it for about a 10-yard run. We missed the block. We kind of fell over. And the ball ended up bouncing there. But obviously, we felt we had the numbers advantage in the run game. When obviously 3-down linemen, they were in a drop 8 coverage. And then that 3rd down, 3rd and 6, right? 3rd down isn't necessarily always 3rd down because, our thought process always, if you've seen us play throughout the season, is anytime we can be in a 4th and 2 or less scenario, we're in a go-for-it scenario. So that 3rd down call is somewhat of a 2-down call. In our ability, to get a crease a run in a 3-down defense. And, we had an MA on our backside receiver, didn't push crack to go get the safety. The safety fell in the hole, but also we've got to be able to stay on our feet. One of the things that happened on that play a lot of times on Saturday is, we were falling down before contact even happened. And, for us, we got to have a mindset at the running back position. We got to run through arm tackles. We got to run over secondary players, and we got to be physical down in the red zone. It's very hard to throw the ball into 8 people into coverage. And when you're getting 3 down fronts, you've got to be able to take advantage of it in the run game.
Is that Franklin a potential option you look at more now in the red zone, being a bigger body guy?
Well, I think Thad's done a really good job for us, and obviously, I think very highly of Thad. And obviously our coaches, make those decisions throughout the week. Based on practice preparation, game performance, and all that deal. But we just need everyone to improve. I think that does bring us a valuable option. But, we need the guys, whoever it is on the field, whether it's Thad or whether it's Jalen, we need Henry, guys to run hard, be physical backs, be downhill. And those guys did, let me say that. They played hard. They played very, very hard. But there are some runs where we wish we could stay up, keep our feet. And I know every guy in that room is is equally talented to chewing at the bit right now to kind of make their role be more significant.
What were your biggest takeaways from the receivers? We were just talking with Mario about 6-7 drops in the game.
Yeah, we had about 6-7 drops total. That was count obviously receivers, running backs, all that whole deal. But was not pleased. Got to be better. We obviously got some deficiencies there. From a depth standpoint, some challenges we're facing. But we got to be better. We got to be better, consistently. And that's, across the board. That's, ball placement. That's quarterbacks. That's running backs. That's tight ends. That's receivers. Too many balls are on the ground. Too many open opportunities. And then there were some things from a technique and detail standpoint that we just didn't do right from our passing game. Whether it was the depth of the route. We had a couple 3rd down missed throws where the receiver ran too deep of a route. And if we would have just ran it right at the precision that it's supposed to be, it would have been an easy completion for 1st down. And so we got to get better. Obviously, when you lose someone as important as Restrepo, he's our leader, captain, all that whole deal. There's a significant difference in that room right now. We've got to overcome it. There are no excuses. There's challenges, and we've got to overcome it with opportunities for everyone.
I think sometimes when plays are missed in the passing game, it can be hard for people to tell, is that on the quarterback or is that on the receiver? So how did you feel about Tyler's performance overall?
Yeah, that's a very valid point there, and oftentimes it looks as quarterbacks take a lot of blame, but Tyler, Tyler played good. Tyler obviously wants to continue to try to play better. And I think the area where you can always assess yourself as a quarterback is how is your ball placement on every route. Where's the ball hitting the receiver? Is it giving them an opportunity to get yards after catch or yards after contact? Are you precise in your reads and everything? And so there's some plays in there. Obviously, Tyler wants back, but then he did a really good job. O-line did a good job keeping them clean. Running backs did a good job in the pass protection piece. We just got to get more. We got to get more out of our passing game. I thought we moved the ball extremely well in the run game, and we're going to need some guys to step up. We have a very inexperienced group, outside of our tight ends as far as Will Mallory. When you look at the production there at the receiver, in tight end position, and so we'll need some guys to grow up fast and fill some big shoes.
Coach Gattis, is there any thought maybe to helping Tyler? Maybe one way is paring down the rotation at receiver and so forth, so we can kind of build some chemistry with guys and maybe timing improve a little bit.
Well, he is building chemistry. The challenge for us is we don't have so many guys, so we are, I think there's 6 guys playing, and that's all we have. You look at it, it's a very, very thin scholarship situation. And in fact, I don't know any other school in the country that's got this limited amount of wide receivers available to him. But, he gets work with all those guys throughout the week in practice because we have to sub, we have to rotate. We do a high volume of plays where, receivers are running deep routes, and so those guys got to keep themselves fresh. But we're also looking for someone to step up, and as we talked about, with losing X, that's a big piece of your offense. When you've got the type of player that he is, that's so productive, so consistent, a kid like that, we need someone else now to step up in that role and in his shoes. And, we got to coach those guys better. I got to continue to push those guys, continue to develop those guys, and we got to get the most that we can out of them.
Obviously, you've got a lot of young guys at receiver, and young guys sometimes halfway through the season, it clicks for them, and they end up being great. What is it usually that with a young guy in the middle of the season can lead to a jump?
Well, it's all confidence, right? It's all confidence. It's got to start in between the ears first and in the head, and you got to believe in your ability. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to be precise in what you're doing, and the knowing what to do and why to do it is one thing, but you got to know how to do it, most importantly. The correct footwork, the correct foot placement, simple details. And when you're playing on the road, especially, you can't get caught up in the environment. My number one message to the offense was we had to calm the noise. And the noise is not necessarily the crowd, but the noise is what's going through your head on a play-to-play basis. Are you focused on your fundamentals, your split, your landmark, all the little things that require details in order to be successful? And at times Saturday, we didn't silence that noise in our head. We were kind of, you look at it from a receiver standpoint, we were, whether we were in a wrong split or ran a wrong depth of the route or, we didn't finish a play. We just got to get more. We got to continue to do better. And they're a young group. It's our time right now to put our hand behind them and push them forward, put an arm around those guys, instill some confidence in them, and obviously very disappointed in the outcome of the game, but it's a long season. We got a lot of games left and a lot of football right ahead of us.
How about the receivers in that team, in fall camp they dropped a lot of balls, and they got really great at the end of fall camp, and the first 2 games they looked good. There were, like you said, multiple drops. Was that the calming the nerves thing? And I was wondering about that. And also Rashard Smith in the last play. How was he doing that?
Just calming the nerves. These kids know their ability, what they can play up to, and what they need to play up to. And so, drops are going to happen sometimes in games. And as I say, even the 6 or 7 that it was in the game, it wasn't always the receivers. Some of it could be helped either by ball placement or ball location. We gave Mike Redding a drop on a deep over route where, if he would have laid out for a ball, so it's not necessarily a drop in that category as ball in the hands, but, ball placement, where the ball's hitting these guys, everything, just focusing on the details. But we just got to improve. We got to continue to, we got to put last game behind us and continue to move forward. And, that's obviously a big emphasis is how we practice is how we're going to perform. And so we got to have a great week of preparation and practice. And then as your next question with Rashard, yeah, he's doing good. Obviously any competitor is going to be hurting in a situation like that where, at the end of the game, I hurt for him. I wish I could do more for him. I wish I could do more for all these kids. And we'll come together. Right now is the time for us to come together as a unit, come together as a team. And so, we've corrected the mistakes. We've put them in the past, but we got to learn from them. This is not any, we don't accept moral victories around here. We don't proclaim to pat ourselves and say everything will be better. We've got to work. Critical point in this season for us, as we continue to get back home this week, and we've got to move forward, take next step forward.
Can you talk about where the secondary receivers, which are Colby, Frank, and Mello, where they're at in their progress?
Yeah, obviously, with those guys, we just got to continue to practice better. Got to practice better. Got to prepare better. And that's going to come to from everything that we do. So obviously the challenges that we have in our depth. We've taken some hits there from injuries. We're going to need everybody to pull the rope in the right direction, and they've got to do it together. They've got to do it as a unit, and that's got to create confidence in them. That's got to be, confidence from, Tyler and the offensive line, running backs, everyone together. And so, like I said, we've got some challenges at the receiver position, and we're just going to have to overcome them.
Last question. John Campbell graded out really well last week. What have you seen him kind of grow into that role, and now he has a chance to start, pretty regularly?
Yeah, John's done a great job for us, and obviously, getting him back healthy this year was huge. Just for the benefit of, obviously some of the challenges that we face with Zion's off-season injury, but having 3 tackles that you've got tremendous confidence in to be able to play in a game, and in fact, you look at when DJ went down in the game, the emergency status of Zion, just being able to switch him over from left to right tackle was tremendous for us. It really helped us obviously finish the game strong there. But you got to have that many guys up front. You've got to have guys that can be interchangeable, guys that can play multiple positions. But John's going to continue to get better as well. He's a very young guy, inexperienced, right? Didn't play a lot of football last year at all. So this is all new to him. And he's done a really good job so far, and we look forward to him to continue to take the next step as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys, are there any questions for defensive coordinator Kevin Steele?
Coach, the defense really buckled down after the first possession, and Mario was talking about how in the first 3 games, other teams have had success on their first drive. What is it about that and adjusting from that, because they really tightened up afterwards?
Well, it's not so much adjustment-wise. We've not had anything in the first 3 games in the first 3 drives really that we hadn't prepared for. Now, Southern Miss was a little bit different because they had been so much Wildcat almost exclusively, and they came out in 11 with a quarterback. But we had prepared for that, so it's not like we're seeing things we had. I think the thing is just getting everybody settled down and just the routine and the confidence that they know their job, they understand their job, settle down and just play the next play. Once we get through that, you can tell it on the sideline. So it's not anything that's catastrophic. It's not incurable. It's just we just got to work to it.
What are your biggest takeaways from the defensive secondary? It seemed like DJ Ivey had a great game, and James is doing James Williams things.
Right. Well, Coach Adai has really put an emphasis and done a really good job of we're a press team. We press a lot in coverage, and that's key because your feet have got to be, you got to move your feet correctly, and then you got to have offhand jam. You got to get your hands on them, and so we've really made a lot of progress there. We were very tight in our coverage, and which was good, and we were tight in our coverage without being too handsy, because if you get tight in your coverage and you start grabbing things, and you're going to have a problem. And so we really put emphasis on that. They've done a good job, and I think it showed up in the game.
Coach, I know they've been rotating for each other mostly this year, but Corey Flagg and Caleb Johnson, do they have the skill set to play with each other, do you feel like?
Yeah, they could. The problem is they play the same position. So they're both Macs, and that's, you know, you got, when you build a house, you got plumbers, you got painters, you got drywallers, and, you know, you don't want your drywaller doing plumbing, so.
Positions are that different, though, is what I'm saying.
Yes, yes, they are. That'd be like tailback and quarterback. They're both backs. No, they're really not.
Coach, through 3 games, where do you think on the defense needs to see the most improvement going forward?
Everything. Everything. We will never come in. And our guys have bought into that. They understand that. They understand that the things that, hey, this is what we did well, this is what we're doing well, this is what we've consistently done well, this is what we have to improve, these are the new things we have to improve, and they need us for the things they have to improve. And so it's just constant improvement, constant. You never arrive. It's something I learned a long time ago. Maybe when I first got into coaching, I thought, oh, yeah, you'll win the national championship and everything's perfect. But we watched that game and realized we won the national championship, and, you know, we still had mental errors. We still had guys out of position. It never, because no play's ever the same. They can line up the same formation, run the same route, but the guy's a little bit wider, a little bit tighter, or the tackle set's a little bit deeper. There's always something to improve. And it's a mindset that you understand that, you embrace that. So we've got things, and we have to get better at tackling. We're tackling pretty well, but not good enough. And so we've got to get better at the coverage things we talked about and keep improving those. We've got to up front make sure that we're low, pad leverage, using hands, striking, staying in our gap. It just never changes. I wish it went away, and I wish one day I could come in here and stand here and say, you know what, we played a perfect game, but I don't think that's going to happen.
How would you evaluate Leonard Taylor's performance on Saturday?
Well, Leonard keeps growing. He's a young guy. It's a little different schematically, and where the D-line was nothing wrong. There's different, Baskin-Robbins made a lot of money selling different flavors. So you don't have to have one flavor. I'm not anybody being negative about anything. But they were more a penetrate and attack front, where we're more play blocks. And so that's, when you're young, that's a process. And so he's making a lot of improvement on it. He makes a lot of big plays, but he'll be the first to tell you, because he's got an unbelievable ability. Sometimes Leonard makes some of those plays, and I'd say this if he was in here, it's like no, yes, because he's just so talented. But when he's improving each week, and you can see it.
Sometimes, I was going to say, sometimes when a guy makes a mistake, like Tyreek on the punt return, it can let him affect the other part of the game. Can you just speak to maybe the way he let go of that play and kept playing on Saturday?
More importantly, everybody else let go of it. Yeah. It's one thing for one guy to let go of it, but if it affects all 11, that's part of the culture that coaches established here is next play culture, and that's not just a buzzword. You literally have to play the next play, and so he did a good job of that. It was communicated on the sideline. It was talked about it from us, from the other players. Hey, next play, and that's a buzzword for it. My dad used to say a bad day doesn't indicate you're going to have a bad life. A bad play doesn't indicate you're going to have a bad game. So you got to go play the next play.
Coach, what do you make of the way that Darrell Jackson Jr. compliments Leonard Taylor, the way they play together?
Well, it's two large human beings in there, and that's it eats up space. And then when you eat up space with guys that are very talented, that have quick feet, they've got really good explosion, they're strong, then they're just not a refrigerator sitting in there. I mean, they've got a motor, and they can move. So that obviously that complements and helps the whole defense when you can force people to run the edges.
Coach, Middle Tennessee State, what's the biggest challenge for you defensively? And also, I know someone asked about DJ Ivey. He's a veteran now. He had a good game. Any specifics on him?
Right. Well, I'll start with DJ. DJ is, number one, extremely coachable. Number two is he's a very intelligent young man from the football standpoint, and academically too, but obviously we're talking about football. He's just a bright guy. And so he's got a lot of pride in his play, and he's really polished his technique. His technique has just improved. Practice is practice, and we have to work to that level to improve things and work hard on it. But then when you get in the game, it's it's a little bit different. It is. And so I think he's playing game speed more in the week now because he understands that, because he's going to have to play it in the game. So rather than just, going through practice, he's learned to really practice on his own. While the play's going on in practice, he's playing it like a game play. He's playing his technique, his speed, like a game. So if you're going against a scout team receiver who obviously may not be as fast as the guy or as quick as the guy you're going to play on Saturday, he didn't go out there and play to that level. He's practicing at a high level, and it's showing up on Saturday. Middle Tennessee, Rick, the head coach there, Stockstill, and I are very, very close friends. I've known him a long time. Some people won't understand what I'm about to say here. About not said it because of that, but the offense, the best for the older group in here is the Hal Mummy true offense of the, Kentucky, Valdosta State that became the Mike Leach air raid offense. It's a lot of four wides on the field, a lot, majority of the time. They throw the ball to set up the run rather than the other way around. They do run it more than they used to in that offense, but it's still not a lot. Their bubble screens, their now screens, their edge screens are really part of their running game. They get that ball out of their hand quick. They release the back a lot, so it's five on your D lineman. It's not, they don't keep tight ends in because they don't play with a tight end very often at all. They do a little bit more of keeping. They've got a bigger wide receiver. They'll move in like a tight end, but he's not a tight end. So, protection-wise, we've got to affect the quarterback. That offense, traditionally, it's been hard to get sacks against. Now, you can affect the quarterback, but it's hard to get sacks against because it's built to get the ball out quick. So it's catch and throw, catch and throw, catch and throw. So, we're going to have to make sure that we affect the quarterback in some different ways. We've got to get our hands up. We've got to make him throw through windows that are tight, not doorways. And so that's key. And then we'll have to be tight in coverage and tackle well in space because they create a space game.
Anything else? Talk about Wayne saying his development. He was in late in that game.
Right.
Talk about his development.
Well, he's very talented. He is coming along nicely. I mean, he was very limited in spring, so we're talking about body of work in the fall camp, which is, you got a couple of weeks and then you get ready for games. So, but he has really embraced it. He's growing. He can have a bright future if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Coach, how would you evaluate the performance of Keontra Smith on Saturday?
Well, not how I would, how I have extensively, and not being corrective. It's just, he is growing in terms of the position. It's a little bit different than what they were asked to do last year. That particular position has some moving parts in it. So, I mean, you're the adjuster in a lot of formations and your gap changes. And so he's grown into that. He's starting to understand it. I think what showed up in that game the other night was his speed. He's a very good player in space. He can run in space. He can change direction in space. Former safety, not a linebacker. And that showed up. He'll be the first to tell you he's still growing in the downhill box plays that are in the phone booth, but that's not what he was used to. So.
Thank you very much, Coach Steele.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Wow, it's flying by.